Do, 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 do.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another Sounding Off podcast with yours truly, Eddie Gonzalez, Moscow photographer, and my partner in crime, Kevin Michelizzi. How you doing, Kevin?
Hey, everybody. Doing all right.
What's going on out there in Crimea today?
Not a whole lot. I mean, we were somewhat warm today, about 4 plus. And hey,
Hmm.
Michael. Hey, Adolf. And of course, you know, everybody's not focused on what's going on in the world.
No one is really focused on what's going on in the world. Certainly not in MAGA world. If I can just talk about that for a moment and kind of go away from the topic. But MAGA back in the States seems to be worried that the JFK files and uh, the Epstein travel list has not been released by Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. And I wonder if this is just a big distraction and no one's paying attention to what's going on over here because most of MAGA is focused just on this one little topic. And of course, they're saying, well, all the conspiracy theorists, right? Where are the arrests? Where are the arrests? And, why isn't this list out yet? So,
Well,
yeah.
people have to remember Trump's been in office for what, 36 days now? And
Mm-hmm.
he gave them, what was it, 30 days to come up with a list of what should or should not be released. He didn't say he was going to release them right away. Hey, G Man.
Correct. Correct. Hello, Edelwolf, Michael, G Man. Welcome, everyone. Yeah,
So
you're absolutely right.
since nobody's paying attention, that's why we're doing another hit and run show today.
And no, possibly Pam Bondi could be busy with other things, with other matters. Remember, you've got Doge uh, moving at light speed to bring efficiency
Little
to all these
cookies.
agencies. Yeah, so Pam Bondi's not only dealing with, the as being chief law enforcement officer of the United States, but she's also the head administrator of this huge organization. So I'm sure there's a lot of things on her desk besides the Epstein list. So be patient, MAGA. It's coming.
And
We
she's
got
also
bigger fish to
defending
fry.
Trump in court against several states.
Absolutely, absolutely. So they're busy uh, doing what attorney generals do. So we don't have a lot of time tonight. So let's talk about this minerals deal, which is kind of a big thing. And we've also had not just kind of a big thing, it is a big thing. And plus, we've had some other shifts that have occurred over the last several days. So, what's this
So is a
minerals deal and why should we care about it?
so you know just a recap for people. This mineral deal, Trump asked Ukraine to give the United States some guarantees on the 500 slash 400 slash $300 billion that the United States gave with no loans or anything else. And Zelensky blew up and said, well, first he said he'd sign it, but then when Trump and Putin had their phone call, then he got mad and said he wouldn't sign it. And Trump and Zelensky had their back and forth. And up until yesterday, Zelensky was saying he wouldn't sign it because there were no security guarantees and it wasn't good for Ukraine. And Trump was saying, basically, you will sign it. And here we are today. Um, Apparently, he's going to Washington, D.C. on Friday, and he's going to sign this agreement that gives the United States the right to go in and invest money in the Ukrainian infrastructure to mine these rare earth minerals, gas, and oil in Ukraine, and then split the profit 50-50. I've seen where some people are saying it's capped at 500 billion, and I'm seeing others saying that there's no cap on it. So just kind of interesting.
Yeah, it really is. And then over the same period, I believe over the weekend, President Putin made an offer himself of
Yep.
a similar nature to the United States for rare minerals. And you just can't help but scratch your head and wonder, these deals just don't pop out of nowhere. There
Yeah.
had to have been, in my opinion, some discussion prior to any of this between President Putin and President Trump or their delegates. And
Yeah.
this just doesn't happen overnight.
So Edelwolf wants to know where these minerals are. If in Donbass, he says they don't belong to Ukraine. Reality is they're all over Ukraine, both sides of the Dnieper River. A good part of them lie in Donbass. And Putin has said that, like you said, Eddie, that he's open to cutting a deal for those. And, but there's a lot on the other side of the Dnieper River as well. So, kind of a misconception people have about this agreement is it does not provide any security guarantees for Ukraine. And Trump's, viewpoint is United States companies are going to go in and invest because Ukraine is using old technologies to mine these materials. And in a lot of the areas, vast majority of the areas where they have these minerals and gas and oil, everything's been destroyed. So it has to be rebuilt. So if we have US companies going in and investing in their infrastructure, then obviously there's a security guarantee because the United States isn't going to allow anybody to attack what they've invested in.
Well, that brings up a good point. If Russia and America are allowed to co-invest in this region, do you think Russia would have an interest in some sort of security guarantee as well?
Well, if you listen to the West, you'd think no, but yeah, I think they do as well. And of course, Russia's been talking to China about investing in the Donbass region for these mineral rights as well. Now, Russia's offering mineral rights. Ukraine is signing off not only on mineral rights, but gas and oil, with the exception of Naftogaz and Ukranafta. So the existing two enterprises that make good money in Russia, in Ukraine, their profits are not included for sharing in this fund. And I would bet the reason Trump agreed to that is because Trump knows that those are the two companies that use the pipeline from Russia to Europe. And if there's not an agreement for Ukraine to transit the gas and stuff and pay Russia to transit the gas, Russia will simply destroy it. So I think that was a smart move on Trump's part.
Yeah, and there's a lot of heads rolling in the neocon world in Washington over this because I don't know, it's just hilarious how the left is just going crazy over this deal, because you've got Trump wanting, ready to make a deal for these mineral rights with Ukraine. This is not the end of the war. Okay? This is separate. I know many people have thought that this agreement means, okay, a cessation of all hostilities. That is not the case. This is simply a preliminary step before we get there. I think Trump went in and basically said, look, before we negotiate a ceasing of this, we want our money back. And we want some guarantees that we're going to recoup our money. So let's talk about that first. Let's get that in writing, and then we'll proceed to bringing some sort of peaceful agreement or a peaceful end to the hostilities. But I don't have the clip, but Trump said in an interview either today or it was yesterday that after signing this document on Friday, that Ukraine still has the right to go forward and fight on. I think that was the word. They have the right to fight on. Now, that upset a lot of people in the West, in America, who want this to come to an end. But he didn't really say they have the right to fight on. But what he didn't say, they have the right to fight on, but not with our money, not with our weapons.
And in fact, this agreement doesn't go into force until after they sign a peace agreement with Russia. So
I didn't know that.
So it is contingent on Ukraine signing a peace deal. So what I see in this is Trump basically told Zelensky, you're going to do this, but it's going to be used between Russia and the United States as a negotiating piece. I see a lot of analysts saying, well, it's so that Ukraine can use it in negotiations. But I don't see how this benefits them in negotiations at all. It's more of an encouragement to sign a deal with Russia before you lose much more of your minerals and oil and gas.
Exactly. Hello, narrator. Hello, George's Boots. And let's see who else we got. Catherine E. is in the house. Thank you all for joining. And Racialized Canadian is in the house as well. Welcome. If you guys are here for the first time, or you're just here, say hello in the chat, please.
Yeah. Ajit, let's not start the yelling and shouting in the chat.
Tell you what,
we're going
to get rid of the Chinese characters here as well.
I agree.
Sayonara. I don't know if that was proper or not, but goodbye.
No. Adios, do svidaniya, arrivederci.
Yeah. So I'm going to play a short clip. I don't know, it's about a minute and something, but these are neocons in the House of Representatives, mainly Democrats, some Republicans, but I want you to listen to the message and listen to the tone of this message, because it is quite telling.
Like you, I'm very proud to stand with all these members as well. It's really amazing to listen to all of you, and thank you so much for standing up like this, including Joe Wilson, who had to leave. And we have to encourage more Republicans to stand up like this and do it. I've got a very simple message. It shouldn't be necessary, but we have to be very clear. Putin is a dictator. Zelensky is not. Zelensky was elected by 73% of the voters in Ukraine. An election that was certified by the European Commission that certifies it was in fact a free and fair election. Very simple point that we need it to be reported regularly. Putin is a dictator, Zelensky is not. Putin and the Russians invaded Ukraine, not the other way around. When we talk about appeasement, as Steny pointed out and as Lloyd pointed out, we're talking about what Neville Chamberlain did with Hitler before World War II. let's just give him something. Let's try and make peace with this guy and he'll stop. He didn't stop. The other day, Hexet said, Ukraine can't win this war. They're just not big enough. They can't possibly beat these guys. If we cave now and reward Russia for invading a democratically elected leader's country who is our ally, if we reward Putin now, what do you think the people in Latvia are going to say? What are the people in Lithuania going to say? What are the people in Estonia going to say? What are the people in Moldova going to say? What are the people in Poland going to say? When I went to Ukraine last April and visited with the commander of the Polish military and saw the map of that area, topographical map that showed the mountains that ringed the area. If he goes through Ukraine, he's going straight into Poland. We cannot reward Putin for his criminal actions where they are murdering people, raping people, kidnapping children. There are tens of thousands of children that have been abducted from Ukraine and brought into Russia. Why? Because if your mom or dad works at the power plant, that we need your Ukrainian parents to keep on working on that plant, and Putin doesn't want you to stop working there, he's going to keep your children even longer, and who knows what else he'll do. He's a beast. He's an animal. He's a dictator. We cannot let this become normalized. Thank you.
So we have to have a representative to match Lindsey Graham. So, you're muted, Eddie.
Sorry about that. I said what hate and vitriol coming out from these representatives, and especially this guy. I don't even know who this guy is.
I guess they forgot what they did in 2014.
They did. They probably forgot what they said because they were probably against it at the time.
Well, probably at the time, yeah. But, unless they need to be reminded, John McCain and Victoria Nuland were, handing out biscuits and $500 bills to overthrow a democratically elected government.
Exactly. And I would like to at least address, I don't know who this congressman was, but when he says, what will Latvia think? What will Estonians think? But let me answer that question for you. Nobody cares. Okay? Nobody cares what's going to happen to the Baltic states. All right? They're going to be just fine.
Eddie, I care because what if their poor, sick soldiers get sent to the front lines? Who will defend their countries without those sick
guarantees.
Soldiers?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But Edelwolf is right. Nobody cares about the Baltic states. Yeah.
I think everybody should go to my Saturday stream and pull the video from Jeffrey Sachs talking about this at the European Parliament, and send it to every one of these guys, and spread it around so they actually hear the truth from a guy who was physically involved in all this stuff back then. So
the thing about it is that these congressional representatives, these senators, are not dumb people. Well, maybe AOC, maybe Ilhan, I don't know, just a few. But you would think that they have some amount of common sense to think through. The thing is that they are being fed what to say. This guy had a list of talking points, and he's pounding the table, okay? Making like a Sunday preacher, making his point, talking to the, preaching to the choir, because nobody else is listening to him.
Warmongers,
neocons. And the reason that I wanted to play this clip is I wanted to just show you that even though there seems to be a lot of victories going on in the Trump administration at the moment, there is still a lot of pushback. There is a lot of resistance, and the deep state is still working, as you can tell, because these guys are still in it. So we've got a long ways to go.
We do. And I really view, when you really look at it, what does Ukraine get out of this if they do not make peace with Russia? They get Zelensky having, some big news of, look, I'm meeting with Trump. I'm still the legitimate president. Now, in order for him to go to Washington to sign that agreement on Friday, Trump made the Rada pass a law saying that as long as the special military operation was going on, he still legally represented Ukraine. And of course, it had to have the signature of the head of the Rada, which is the actual guy who's in charge of the country right now. So the only thing they get is some media coverage for Zelensky to say, look, I'm still legitimate. If they don't sign a peace deal, they get Zippo out of it. So I really believe, and this is just my thoughts, that this is nothing more than Trump setting them up with a negotiating point to use against them when he and Putin talk.
Quite possibly.
Here's the agreement. Here's the agreement we made with Russia. You need to sign on, or guess what? No money now or in the future.
Yeah.
Now, an
it's very interesting.
thing,
Go ahead.
As I say, another interesting thing is this money is going to be used for U.S. companies to invest in Ukraine. So what do you get? You get the same thing that you've got with the military equipment that they were getting under Biden. Artillery shells, when in 2022, were going for about $1,000 a piece. By the time Biden left office, they were going for $8,000 a piece. So the military industrial complex in the U.S. could charge whatever they wanted. And you see that these U.S. companies will probably charge Ukraine whatever they want to. Give us money.
Yeah.
Give us money. Hey,
Absolutely.
Odious.
Absolutely. Everybody welcome to the chat.
Hey.
What?
Kind of related, this kind of throws the EU out of it too, because they were trying to go after those mineral and gas rights as well. So will there be anything left for them to sign up for?
EU is irrelevant at this point.
Yeah. And they've been talking about confiscating Russia's seized assets. And Trump this morning, watched him on the news say that we welcome them to use our assets to rebuild Ukraine, as long as part of it is used to rebuild the former territories of Ukraine.
Former territories, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting. So tomorrow, the 27th, we have two events going on. One in Istanbul, where will Lavrov be there personally? I don't know if Lavrov and Rubio will personally be in Istanbul.
I saw that Lavrov was supposed to be in Istanbul.
So it could be maybe staffers and maybe some of the other folks involved, but we'll see. But they are supposed to move forward with making plans to fully open embassies in both countries. And so they need to discuss staffing. They need to discuss appointing ambassadors and appointing diplomats. to these
Yep.
offices and to do it immediately. So
Yeah.
they are moving, both countries are still moving forward to coming together. And it's interesting because I've read a lot of comments from some Russians. I've seen it on Telegram, I've seen it on X. And if we do have any Russian citizens here in the chat, feel free to chime in. But they are of the opinion that Putin will never trust the United States because look at how the United States has acted in the past. Look at what they've done. They've always reneged, and their track record is abysmal. Putin will
And
never
Trump is
trust.
only in for 4 years. So
Trump is only in for 4 years, and yet there is there's momentum. And if you can't see this, you're not looking high enough. But there is momentum between these two nations coming forward. And this momentum is strong. And we've never seen that before. So it's quite interesting. But I'd like to know what some Russians actually think about it. Do they think it's really a bad thing? Because Putin seems to trust Trump. He may not trust the establishment.
Yeah.
He doesn't trust the deep state, but maybe he does trust the man. What say you?
I think that's the point. I think he trusts Trump, but as far as trust over agreements and everything goes, he knows everything can change in 4 years. So
Absolutely.
he's going to want some guarantees in place himself. Now, something you said when we first started the stream, people were expecting that, the conflict would just end now. But I've heard Trump and Putin both say it. They briefly discussed the situation in Ukraine. Now, what does briefly mean? With Putin, briefly could be 4 or 5 hours, but, they've both said that their focus is on the relationship. So they aren't even negotiating about the conflict yet. I think everyone's just setting up their hands for the negotiations, and that will come down the road. So don't expect an end soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect an end either, not anytime soon. But there's something that I want to put up here for just a minute. I just need to see if I can find it. Yeah, I was going to put that up. Let me find this real quick.
Now, if I can click the right buttons. So, yeah, they're really focusing on the relationship first and foremost, which has got Europe in a tizzy. It's got the Democrats in a tizzy. I heard Putin today talking about, the reporter asked him, he said, I've heard a lot of comments that, you're playing into the United States' hands. And Putin said, no, he says, we essentially is what he says. We've been around the block. We aren't playing into anybody's hands. Nobody's going to take advantage of Russia. So, yeah, I agree, Odious. We should prepare for round 3. More factories, army, and and nobody is stopping right at the moment. They're still shooting at each other.
Yeah, I was about to say round 3 of what?
Well,
can you hear me?
I'm taking that to mean round 3 is in, we're talking about relations, and we'll negotiate a little bit on, but there's going to be another, still more rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah, so getting ready to wind down this live stream here, guys, because we have a hard stop here coming up. But I just want to make.
It came up about 13 minutes ago, but hey.
Oh, it did? Oh, sorry. Shoot. Okay. Tell you what, we can save it for next time. How's that?
Go for it.
Okay. Well, I'll just say it real quick. I got 30 seconds. But like I said before, these agreements between Putin and Trump did not occur overnight. This just wasn't something that they scratched their head and said, geez, I think I could, do this. Of course, I have no proof whatsoever, but it is our show, so we can speculate. Can we? So if I could speculate, I was going to speculate that, and I will show this here, that, come on, StreamYard, work. Come on. Didn't it show? Crap. Anyway, I had a picture up here of President Putin and President Trump shaking hands. I know you've seen it at Helsinki when they met. I believe this is in 2019. And I can almost hear this conversation going on in private between both of them. Next term, we can do X, Y, and Z. Next term, I will be in a position where we could explore X, Y, and Z. And I wonder if some of these agreements that we see now happening may have been discussed before. Because if you think about it, it's almost like Ukraine is a side note. It's a footnote to these agreements. Ukraine is a complication that they didn't think about when they were first discussing this. Anyway, that's just my assumptions. Could be crazy, but you never know.
When I've heard Trump and Putin both state that they were talking before Trump was in office. True. So
I think this has been in the planning for quite some time.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, guys. We're going to do a short live today, but appreciate you all being here. Make sure you all subscribe to both our channels. All the links are down in the description. We will talk to you next time. Пока.
До свидания.